Zanim zaczniemy, mam małą prośbę. Staram się osiągnąć 1000 subskrybentów. To dla mnie bardzo ważna liczba. Proszę kliknijcie przycisk SUBSK rybuj. To tylko jedno małe kliknięcie, ale dla mnie to ogromna motywacja do dalszego tworzenia filmów. Bardzo dziękuję wszystkim. She walks in at 2:47 p.m. on a Wednesday. Jeans, plain white t-shirt, boots with red clay dust on the soles. The reception area is glass and marble. A water feature hums near the door. Every agent in that office wears a suit that costs more than most people's rent. She approaches the front desk. Is greater than. Good afternoon. I'm looking to buy a home for my father. The receptionist doesn't look up from her screen. Budget? I'm flexible. She glances at her at the boots, at the t-shirt. Our properties start at $850,000. We also have some listings in the $200,000 range. I can refer you to our affiliate office on, I said I'm flexible. The receptionist's fingers pause on the keyboard. She picks up the phone. Raymond, there's a walk-in for you. Raymond Ashford appears from the back hallway. Senior agent, 12 years at the firm, pressed navy shirt, gold cufflinks that catch the overhead light every time he moves his wrists. And he takes one look at the woman standing in the lobby, the jeans, the dusty boots, the plain white tee, and extends a hand that doesn't quite commit to the handshake. Is greater than. Raymond Ashford, what are we looking for today? A house for my father. 4 bedrooms. Something with a garden. He's 71. He deserves somewhere beautiful. Raymond nods slowly. The way you nod at someone you've already decided not to help. And your pre-approval letter. I'll be paying cash. Raymond almost laughs. Catches himself. Almost. Cash. Okay. He taps his pen against his notepad. And what's our price range? I told the woman at the desk. I'm flexible. Flexible usually means something specific. Are we talking $300,000? $400,000? I said flexible. Raymond writes nothing on the notepad. Tell you what, let me pull some listings and get back to you. Can I get your email? He's not going to pull listings. And he's not going to email her. He's going to walk back to his desk, text his colleague something dismissive, and let the clock run her out. And that's exactly what he does. He sits down, pulls out his phone, types, walk-in dreamer, won't last 10 minutes. Alal Marcus, the agent 2 desks over, glances at the woman in the lobby, then back at his phone. Types back, dusty boots in a marble office. El Mayu. Raymond sends one more. Told her I'd pull listings. Pulling nothing. She'll leave on her own. Marcus replies. Natural selection. Lol. They laugh low enough that Kaine can't hear the words, but loud enough that she can hear the laughter. She's been hearing laughter like that her whole life. The office manager and Kudimka walks past the lobby. 44. Tailored blazer. Pearl earrings. She runs the front of that office the way a velvet rope runs a nightclub. Everything polished, everything selective, and everything designed to make certain people feel like they don't belong. She sees the woman sitting alone in the waiting area, boots leaving faint red dust on the white tile. She leans into Raymond's ear. Don't waste billable hours. She's not buying anything. Raymond doesn't even look up. Already handled. And Ku nods, walks back to her glass-walled office, closes the door. The woman in the dusty boots sits alone. She doesn't check her phone. She doesn't fidget. She just sits, watching, waiting. The way someone waits when they've been underestimated before, and they know exactly what it looks like. 7 minutes pass. No one comes back. And then from the far corner of the office, a voice. Hi. She looks up. A young woman is standing in front of her. 26. Natural hair pulled back. A blazer that's slightly too big in the shoulders. Borrowed from her roommate that morning. No gold cufflinks. No pearl earrings. Just a legal pad. A pen. And a smile that hasn't been trained out of her yet. Her name is Tiwa Adebayo, Yoruba heritage, born in Houston. Her mother is a nurse who works doubles at Memorial. Herman has for 19 years. Tiwa moved to Charlotte 3 months ago for this job. Applied to 14 firms. This was the only one that called back. 3 months in, 0 sales. And not because she was bad, because every walk-in who looked like they could actually buy something was intercepted by Raymond or Marcus before Tiwa could stand up from her desk. They called her charity case when they thought she couldn't hear. She could always hear. I'm Tiwa Adabio. I'd love to help you find something for your father. The woman studies her. Everyone else seems busy. Tiwa glances back at the office. Raymond on his phone. Marcus pretending to read a contract. Aiden Kiru behind her glass wall. I'm not busy. And honestly, I heard what you said about your father. 4 bedrooms, a garden, 71 years old. She sits down across from her. Can you tell me more about him? What does he love? The woman is quiet for a moment. He loves birds. He wakes up every morning at 5 and sits by whatever window is closest, just listening. He loves cooking jollof rice mostly. He makes it every Sunday, even when no one's coming over. And he loves morning light. He says it reminds him of his mother's kitchen in Enugu. Tiwa writes every word down. Morning light, east-facing windows. Got it. She looks up. What's his name? Chief Uzandu Oiora. And yours? Kaine. Tiwa extends her hand. A real handshake. Full grip. Eye contact. Kaine, I'm going to find your father the most beautiful home in Charlotte. And I'm going to make sure it has birds, morning light. I'm in enough kitchen space for Sunday. Jolof. Kaine almost smiles. It's the first time anyone in that office has used her name. If you believe that how you treat someone when you think they have nothing says everything about who you are, stay with me, because what Tiwa just started by pulling up that chair and asking about an old man's love for birds, it's going to change both of their lives in ways neither of them can imagine right now. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and don't go anywhere. This is just the beginning. The thing about Kaine Oiora is that nothing about her appearance has ever matched what she carries. She was born in Charlotte, grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment off Beesford Road. Her father, Chief Uzandu, had been a secondary school headmaster in Enugu before he brought his family to America. A man who had commanded classrooms of 200 students who had shaped the minds of future doctors and engineers and politicians are reduced to driving a taxi 6 days a week because his Nigerian teaching credentials meant nothing on this side of the ocean. He never complained, not once. He would come home at midnight smelling like leather seats and air freshener. And the first thing he'd do was check Kaine's homework every single night. Red pen in hand, corrections in the margins. Not because he was strict, because he believed that if his daughter was going to build a life in this country, she was going to build it on a foundation that couldn't be shaken. There were passengers who treated him well, and there were others, the ones who snapped their fingers to get his attention, who counted their change 3 times, who looked through him like he was part of the car. He never told Kaine about those passengers. He never had to. She could always read it in his posture when he came through the door. The world will try to tell you what you're worth, he told her once. And she was 12. They were sitting on the steps outside their apartment. He was still in his taxi uniform. The evening heat rising off the concrete. A mocking bird singing from the telephone wire. Let them talk. You just keep building. When the building is tall enough, they won't be able to ignore it anymore. She didn't understand it then. She understood it now. Kaine had graduated from UNC Charlotte with a degree in computer science. Got a job at a fintech startup. Hated it. She quit after 11 months. Her father didn't say a word, just made her jollof rice that Sunday and asked her what she wanted to build next. What she built next was a crypto portfolio that started with $4,200 of her savings and turned into something that made her accountant call 3 times in 1 week to make sure the numbers were real. She didn't get lucky. She studied 18 hours a day for the first 2 years, read every white paper, built her own tracking algorithms. I lived in a studio apartment with a mattress on the floor while her portfolio grew in the background like a tree nobody was watching. By 27, her portfolio was worth $38 million. She still drove a 2014 Honda, still wore the same boots. By 28, $114 million. 3 weeks before she walked into that real estate office, Kaine Oiora closed a position worth $200 million. She didn't buy a penthouse. She didn't post anything on social media. She called her father. Daddy, I want to buy you a house. Silence on the line. Kaine, a real house with a garden and birds and morning light. You don't have to do that. I know, Daddy. That's why I want to. She could hear him breathing, the taxi radio crackling. He was still driving, 71 years old and still picking up strangers at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. Let me do this, please. Let me give you morning light. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. And he just said, make sure it has space for the jollof pot. She laughed. He laughed. And that was the deal. She didn't dress up for the real estate office. She didn't put on heels or carry a designer bag. She wore exactly what she wore every day. Jeans, a white tee, boots she'd had since college. Not because she was testing anyone, because she simply didn't perform for strangers. Her father had taught her that. If they only respect you when you look expensive, he once said, they don't respect you at all. Tiwa pulls up the first listing on her laptop and turns the screen toward Kaine. This one's in Myers Park. 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths. Built in 2019. The backyard has mature oaks, which means birds. Carolina wrens nest in oaks. Your father would love it. Kaine leans forward. How do you know about Carolina wrens? My grandmother kept birds in Lagos. She could identify 30 species by sound alone. I grew up thinking that was normal. Tiwa smiles. It's not normal, but it's beautiful. Something shifts in Kaine's face. A softness like she just found something she didn't expect to find in a real estate office. Show me more. Tiwa shows her 4 properties. Each one carefully selected, not by price, but by the details Sin mentioned. East-facing kitchen, garden space, quiet street, room for morning light, From across the office, Raymond watches. He sees Tiwa's laptop open. I sees Cine leaning in, sees the body language of someone who is actually interested. He stands up. Tiwa. She looks over. Can I talk to you for a second? Tiwa excuses herself, walks to Raymond's desk. What's up? That walk-in. What's she looking at? Myers Park, Eastover, South Park. Raymond's eyes narrow. Those aren't $200,000 neighborhoods. Those are $1.5 million neighborhoods. She told you her budget? She said she's paying cash. I believe her. Raymond almost chokes. You believe her? Tiwa, look at her. She's wearing construction boots. She's wearing boots. I don't know what she does in them. I'm trying to help you. Don't waste your time on a window shopper. You've been here 3 months with 0 sales. You can't afford to chase ghosts. Tiwa looks at him calm, steady. She's not a ghost. She's a daughter buying a house for her father, and she's my client. She walks back to Kin. Raymond watches her go. His jaw tightens when he picks up his phone and texts and Kiru. The new girl is showing Myers Park listings to the boot lady. Someone needs to intervene before she embarrasses the firm. And Ku reads the text, stands up, straightens her blazer, walks out of her glass office. She approaches Tiwa's desk, doesn't acknowledge Kini. Tiwa, can I see you in my office? Tiwa looks at Kini. I'll be right back. Kin nods. She's watching everything. She's been watching everything since she walked inside the glass office. And Crew closes the door. What are you doing showing properties to a client? That woman is not a client. She's a walk-in with no pre-approval, no proof of funds, and no appointment. You're showing her $1.5 million listings in Myers Park. Do you know what happens if she wastes a seller's time and it gets back to this office? She said she's paying cash. Everyone says they're paying cash, Tiwa. And that's what people say when they can't get a loan. I think she's telling the truth based on what? The red dust on her boots. Tiwa is quiet for a moment. Based on the fact that she didn't flinch when I showed her a $2.1 million listing. She didn't ask the price. She asked which direction the kitchen windows face. Enku stares at her. You've been here 3 months. You have 0 closed deals. The partners are already asking questions. If you waste another week chasing someone who can't close, I can't protect your position. There it is. The threat. Tiwa feels it. The pressure in her chest. The voice in her head that says, play it safe. Walk away. Don't risk everything on a stranger. She thinks about her mother back in Houston working double shifts at the hospital. Tiwa moved to Charlotte for this job because she promised her mother she'd make it. 3 months. 0 sales. Rent due in 9 days. She could walk away and nobody would blame her. But she thinks about K9 sitting out there alone. The way everyone looked past her. The way Raymond didn't even write on his notepad. The way the receptionist tried to redirect her to a cheaper office without even asking her name. I'll take the risk. Tiwa says, excuse me, she's my client. I'd like to schedule a showing for tomorrow. Inu stares at her. Fine, but when this falls apart, and it will, don't come to me asking for a second chance. Tiwa walks out of the glass office. Her legs are shaking, but her voice didn't shake. And that's the part they'll remember. Tiwa walks out of the glass office back to Cine. Sorry about that. Office politics. Tiwa hesitates. Something like that. Kaine looks at her, steady knowing. They told you I'm wasting your time. Tiwa says nothing. It's okay. I've heard it before. In different offices, in different cities, people look at me and they see the boots. They see the t-shirt. They see a young black woman who couldn't possibly have the money she says she has. She pauses. I stopped trying to convince people a long time ago. I just wait. Wait for what? For the one person who doesn't need convincing. Tiwa feels something in her throat. She swallows it. Tomorrow, 10 meters. I'll pick you up. We'll see 3 properties. And if none of them feel right, I will see 3 more the day after, and 3 more after that, until we find the one that makes your father's face light up. Kaine nods. Thank you, Tiwa. Thank you for trusting me. They shake hands again. Same grip, same eye contact. But this time something is different. This time it's a deal. The next morning, Tiwa pulls up to the address Kaine gave her in a freshly washed Honda Civic. The neighborhood is modest. Brick duplexes. Chain link fences on a barber shop on the corner with a hand-painted sign. K9 is waiting outside. Same jeans, same boots, grey hoodie. She gets in. Morning. Ready. I've been ready since I was 12. Tiwa drives. The first property is in Myers Park, Colonial Revival. 4 bedrooms. Mature oaks in the backyard. A cardinal on the fence. Tiwa points out the east-facing kitchen. This window gets direct light from about 6:15 to 8:30 a.m. I checked the sun chart. Kaine stops walking. You checked the sun chart? You said your father loves morning light. I wasn't going to guess. Kaine checks the kitchen. Standard 4-burner. Ceilings too low. Close, but not quite. My father is 6'2". He spent 30 years folded into a taxi. He deserves ceilings he can stretch under. The second property is in Eastover. Bigger, modern, 6-burner Viking range. He could make jollof for 20 people in here, Tiwa says. But the house feels cold. Floor-to-ceiling windows, no trees outside, no birds, just glass and a sculpted lawn. Beautiful, Kaine says, but it feels like a magazine, not a home. I agree, Tiwa says. You're good at this. I'm good at listening. The listening is the selling part. Nobody else in your office has figured that out. The third property stops them both. It's in a neighborhood called Sedgefield, a craftsman bungalow completely renovated. 4 bedrooms, a high ceilings 10 feet on the main floor, 12 inches the living room, a wraparound porch with rocking chairs that someone left behind, a backyard with a vegetable garden already planted, tomatoes, peppers, herbs, collard greens, a bird bath under a magnolia tree that has to be 60 years old. The kitchen faces east. A 6-burner gas range sits against a brick accent wall. The window above the stove, exactly where Tiwa said it would be, looks directly out onto the garden and the magnolia. The morning light floods through like honey poured from a jar. Kaine stands in the middle of that kitchen for a full minute without speaking. She touches the brick wall. She opens the stove. She turns the faucet and watches the water. She looks at the window. She looks at the garden. She looks at the magnolia tree where 2 birds, she can't tell what kind yet, but they're singing, are perched on the lowest branch. She closes her eyes. Tiwa says nothing. She just watches. She knows. She can feel it in the room. The way the air changes when someone stops looking at a house and starts seeing a home. Chini opens her eyes. They're wet. How much? $1.85 million. Kaine nodded slowly. Not the way Raymond nodded. Slow with dismissal. Slow with certainty. Schedule a second showing. I want my father to see this. I want him standing right here in this kitchen at 6:15 inches the morning when that light comes through. Tiwa's hand is shaking when she writes it down. She hides it by holding the legal pad against her chest. A $1.85 million sale. A $46,250 commission at minimum. More than her mother makes in a year. I'll set it up for tomorrow, 10 a.m. On the drive back, Kaine is quiet for a long time, watching the Charlotte streets roll by. Then, Tiwa, yes. How many other agents in your office would have scheduled 3 showings for someone who walked in wearing dusty boots and a white t-shirt? Tiwa thinks about it honestly. None. How many would have checked the sun chart? None. How many would have known about Carolina wrens? Tiwa almost laughs. Definitely none. That's what I thought. Silence for 3 blocks. Don't let them break you. Whatever they say about you in that office, whatever they call you when they think you can't hear, don't let them break what you have. Because what you have, that thing that made you sit down and ask about an old man's birds, that's worth more than every gold cufflink in that building. Tiwa grips the steering wheel. Her eyes are burning, but she doesn't blink. I won't. Back at the office, word has spread. Raymond sees Tiwa walk in. He's heard about the showings. 3 properties, Myers Park, Eastover, Sedgefield. He intercepts her at the coffee machine. The Sedgefield craftsman. That's $1.85 million. Tiwa, has she shown proof of funds? She will when she's ready. Raymond nods. That slow nod. He walks away straight to Enku's office, closes the door. The Sedgefield craftsman, $1.85 million cash buyer. That's the biggest sale this quarter. Enku looks up and Tiwa gets credit. Unless the firm intervenes. Senior co-lead requirement transactions above $1.5 million. There's no such policy. There could be. As of today, I'll handle it. 20 minutes later, it gets an email from Enku. Tiwa, per firm policy, all listings above $1.5 million require a senior agent as co-lead on the transaction. I've assigned Raymond as co-lead on the Sedgefield property. He'll join you at tomorrow's showing. This is standard procedure in co. Tiwa reads it 3 times. There is no such policy. She's been here 3 months, but she's read every page of the employee handbook. There is no co-lead requirement. There is no $1.5 million threshold, and this is a fabrication. They're stealing her deal. She sits at her desk staring at the screen. Her hands are shaking again, but not from excitement. She could fight it. She could reply to the email and call it out. She could go to the partners, but the partners play golf with Raymond. The partners hired in coup. The partners don't know Tiwa's name. She thinks about her mother again. The double shifts. The promise. She picks up her phone, calls Kaine. Hi, it's Tiwa. Is everything okay? Yes, tomorrow's showing is confirmed. 10 a.m. But I want to let you know another agent from my office will be joining us. Senior agent. His name is Raymond. Silence. Raymond, the one who couldn't be bothered to write anything on his notepad when I first walked in. Tiwa is quiet. They're trying to take the deal from you. Kaine says, it's not a question, it's office procedure. Tiwa, I've run a business since I was 23. I know what a power grab looks like, and I know what it costs the person who actually did the work. Tiwa says nothing because if she speaks, her voice will break. Don't worry about Raymond. Kaine says, just bring your legal pad and your sun charts. I'll handle the rest. The next morning, 1000 a.m. Sedgefield. Tiwa arrives first. Honda Civic parked on the street. Legal pad. Sun chart printout. A small potted bird of paradise she bought from a nursery on the way. A housewarming gesture and just in case. Raymond pulls up in a black Mercedes. Steps out, fresh suit, new tie. He's brought a leather portfolio and a Mont Blanc pen that probably costs more than Tiwa's monthly car payment. Tiwa, good morning. Good morning. I'll take the lead on the walk-through. You can handle the paperwork if we get to that stage. Tiwa opens her mouth, closes it. Then a car pulls up. Not the car they expected. A pearl-white Cadillac Escalade, tinted windows. It rolls to a stop directly in front of the house. The driver's door opens. A woman steps out. Tailored suit, natural hair, in a perfect twist. Heels that click on the pavement like punctuation marks. She walks around to the passenger side, opens the door. An elderly man steps out. 71. Silver hair, a face full of deep lines that come from decades of smiling more than frowning. He's wearing a traditional Igbo agada, cream-colored, embroidered at the collar with gold thread, and he leans on a wooden cane with a carved eagle at the handle. He looks at the house, at the wraparound porch, at the magnolia tree, at the bird bath. His eyes fill. Canine. She steps out behind him. Same jeans, same boots, same white t-shirt. Yes, Daddy, you said a house, you didn't say a home. She takes his arm. Let's go inside. Raymond stares at the Escalade, at the driver in the tailored suit, at the old man in the agada, at Canine, who he dismissed in under 90 seconds 2 days ago. His leather portfolio suddenly feels ridiculous in his hands. His Mont Blanc pen feels like a prop. Everything he brought to impress a client was designed for the wrong conversation. He prepared to sell. He should have prepared to listen. He adjusts his tie, steps forward with his hand extended. Sir, I'm Raymond Ashford, senior agent at Where is Tiwa, the old man says. Raymond's hand hangs in the air and the morning sun illuminating his gold cufflinks. The cufflinks that were supposed to signal success, competence, authority. Right now, they signal nothing. They're just metal. I'm sorry. My daughter told me about a young woman named Tiwa. She said, Tiwa was the only person in your office who asked me what I love. He looks directly at Raymond, eyes sharp, clear, and the eyes of a man who spent 15 years reading classrooms full of teenage boys, and knowing exactly which ones were paying attention, and which ones were pretending. She said, you couldn't be bothered to pick up a pen. Raymond's hand drops to his side. Sir, there was a miscommunication about. There was no miscommunication. The old man's voice is steady, not angry, not raised, just precise. The voice of a headmaster. My daughter told me everything. She tells me everything as she always has. He turns away from Raymond like a page being turned in a book. Finished, closed, no longer relevant. Tiwa steps forward, her legal pad against her chest, the bird of paradise plant tucked under her arm. Chief Oiora, it's an honor to meet you. I brought this for your garden. It's a bird of paradise. I thought it might attract sunbirds, but Carolina wrens seem to like the color too. The old man takes her hand in both of his. His grip is warm, firm, and the grip of a man who has shaken 10,000 hands and knows the difference between the ones that mean something and the ones that don't. My daughter says you checked the sun chart. I did, sir. She says you know about Carolina wrens. My grandmother kept birds in Lagos. She could identify 30 species by sound. She taught me to listen before I look. His eyes crinkle, a smile that starts deep from the belly, from the chest. I'd from 30 years of waiting for someone to ask the right question. Then you're the one. Show me my home. They walk through the front door. Tiwa leads. Kan walks with her father, her hand on his arm. Chief Uzandu moves slowly, not because he's frail. He's not. He moves slowly, because he's paying attention. The way he used to walk through the corridors of his school in Enugu, noticing every crack in the wall, every light that needed replacing, every student who looked like they needed to be seen. He notices the hardwood floors first, runs the tip of his cane along the grain. Oak, he says. American red oak. My school in Enugu had mahogany, different grain, but the same warmth. He notices the crown molding, the original brick fireplace, the ceiling height, 12 feet in the living room. He stands in the center of that room and stretches his arms out. Not dramatically, just instinctively. And like a man who has spent 30 years folded into small spaces, finally feeling what it's like to have room, Tiwa leads them to the kitchen. She doesn't rush. She lets Chief Uzandu set the pace. He walks in, stops. The east-facing window is glowing. It's 10 to 14 a.m. Past the golden hour, but the light is still warm, still generous, still pouring through the glass above the stove like someone left a lamp on. He walks to the window, puts his hand on the sill. Outside the vegetable garden and the tomatoes, the peppers, the collard greens, the flagstone path, the bird bath, and the magnolia tree, 60 years old, broad and patient, its branches reaching across the yard like open arms. A Carolina wren is perched on the rim of the bird bath. It dips its head, drinks, shakes the water off, then sings. Chief Uzandu closes his eyes. The room is silent. Kaine in the doorway. Tiwa beside the stove. Raymond in the hallway. Invisible. If at the front door, waiting on 30 seconds pass. A minute. Nobody speaks because the silence belongs to the old man, and everyone in that house knows it. When he opens his eyes, they're full. I can hear them. He whispers. The bird's already. The wren calls again, and from somewhere in the oaks beyond the fence, another voice answers. A duet, for an audience of one. Tiwa shows him the rest of the house. The master bedroom with its bay window. The guest room that could be a study on the third bedroom. This could be your reading room, Chief. The afternoon light comes through here from about 2 to 5 p.m. The wraparound porch with the rocking chairs. Chief Uzandu sits in one of the rocking chairs, puts his cane across his lap. Rocks once, twice in Enugu, he says. The headmaster's house had a veranda. I would sit there after school and watch the students walk home. I could hear them laughing from the end of the road, and I always thought that was the sound of my life's work. Children laughing on their way home. He looks at the street, a quiet street. An old couple walking their dog. A child on a bicycle. This feels like that. He rocks again. Then he stands. Kaine. Yes, Daddy. This is it. She nods. This is it. She turns to Tiwa. We'll take it. Tiwa's hand is shaking again. She steadies it. Cash offer. Cash offer. Full asking price. No contingencies. 1.85 million. One sentence. I done. Raymond steps forward. I'll draw up the no. Kaine's voice is level. Not angry. Not loud. Just final. Tiwa is my agent. Tiwa found this house. Tiwa checked the sun chart. Tiwa asked about the birds. You texted your colleague that I was a dreamer who wouldn't last 10 minutes. The room goes still. Did you think I didn't see you pull out your phone? Did you think I didn't notice that you never wrote a single word on that notepad? She looks at him. I notice everything, Raymond. It's how I made my money. Raymond's face drains. And for the record, I won't just be purchasing this property. She pauses. The woman from the Escalade, the one in the tailored suit, walks through the front door. Leather briefcase. She approaches Kaine and opens it on the kitchen counter. This is if Ober Cole, my attorney. If removes a stack of documents, places them in a neat row. My client will be purchasing this property at full asking price cash. Additionally, she looks at Cindy, who nods. Additionally, my client will be purchasing the remaining 12 unsold properties in the Sedgefield Heritage Development. All 12 cash, full asking price. Raymond stops breathing. And Crew, who has just arrived, heels clicking up the front path because she wanted to oversee her deal, freezes in the doorway. 12 properties. $1.85 million each. Plus this one. $24.05 million. One buyer. One afternoon. And the largest single residential transaction in the firm's 2-3-year history. And the agent of record is Tiwa Adabio. 3 months in. 0 sales until today. Kaine turns to Enku. You must be the office manager. Enku can't speak. My attorney will need to verify that there is no co-lead policy for transactions above $1.5 million, because according to your employee handbook, which I had my legal team review last night, no such policy exists. And Crew's face goes white. See, every dollar of this transaction goes through Tiwa. Every commission, every credit, every line on the paperwork. She found me. She listened to me. She asked about my father's birds. She looks at Raymond. You asked about my budget. She looks at Enku. You told her not to waste billable hours. She looks back at Tiwa. And you? You ask me about morning light. The room is silent. The kind of silence that rewrites futures. Chief Uzandu is standing by the window and the morning sun on his face. He hasn't moved. He hasn't spoken. He's just smiling. The smile of a man who spent 40 years driving a taxi so his daughter could build something. And she built something so tall that nobody could ignore it anymore. If this story moved you, if you felt something when that old man stood at the window and heard the birds, subscribe now. Every story we tell on this channel is about the same truth. The people who are patient, the people who are kind, and the people who show up without asking what's in it for them. Those are the people fate remembers. Comment below what hit you the hardest and hit that notification bell, because in these stories the proud always fall and the humble they always rise. The paperwork takes 4 hours. If Ioma moves through it like a surgeon, every document reviewed, every clause verified, every signature witnessed. She has done deals like this before, but not for Cindy's personal investments. And for the first time, the money isn't abstract. It's for a house, for a father, for morning light. Tiwa sits across the table from Kaine, processing what is happening to her life. Her hands stopped shaking an hour ago. Now they're steady. The steadiest they've ever been. At one point, Kaine looks up from the documents. Tiwa, I want you to understand something. Yes, I didn't test you. I don't walk into offices hoping people fail so I can punish them. I'm not that person. I know. I walked in wearing what I always wear and I watched what happened. Raymond didn't fail a test. He failed a person. There's a difference. Tiwa nods. The 12 properties. I'd been planning that for months. I want to build something in Sedgefield. Affordable units for families who look like mine. Families whose fathers drive taxis. Families whose mothers work doubles at hospitals. The development was always the plan. The house for my father was personal. Both were happening regardless. She signs another document. But who I give my business to, that was never predetermined. That was earned. You earned it by asking about birds. $24.05. $5 million in closed sales. 13 properties, one afternoon. Tiwa's commission, the standard rate for the firm's agents, is 2.5%, $61,250. Tiwa Adabio, 26 years old, 3 months on the job, 0 sales before today. The girl they call Charity Case. The girl whose blazer was borrowed at the girl whose mother works doubles so her daughter can chase something better. $61,250. Because she sat down when everyone else walked past. Because she asked an old man about birds. Raymond doesn't stay for the paperwork. He leaves 17 minutes after the reveal. Gets in his Mercedes. Sits in the parking lot for a long time. The engine running. His hands on the steering wheel. Staring at the dashboard like it might tell him where things went wrong. But he knows where things went wrong. They went wrong at 2:47 p.m. on a Wednesday when a woman in dusty boots walked in, and he decided she was nothing before she finished her first sentence. He drives away. He doesn't come back that afternoon. The next morning, he finds an email from Efema Obiora Cole, CC'd to the firm's 3 managing partners, CC'd to the firm's general counsel, CC'd to Tiwa. The email contains 3 things. First, a screenshot of his text to Marcus. Walk-in dreamer, I won't last 10 minutes, lol. And Marcus's reply, dusty boots in a marble office, Lamu. And Raymond's follow-up told her, I'd pull listings, pulling nothing. She'll leave on her own. And Marcus again, natural selection, lol all second. A screenshot of Enku's email to Tiwa, the fabricated co-lead policy, alongside a highlighted excerpt from the firm's actual employee handbook showing that no such policy exists. A third, a formal demand letter requesting that the firm investigate potential commission theft, discriminatory client screening practices, and the fabrication of internal policies to disadvantage a junior employee. The letter does not threaten a lawsuit. It doesn't need to. The screenshots are enough. The managing partners can do the math. A $24 million client, a paper trail of discrimination, a fabricated policy designed to strip a black female agent of her rightful commission in 2026. In Charlotte, in a firm that just posted about diversity and inclusion on their LinkedIn page 3 weeks ago. By Friday, Raymond Ashford is placed on administrative leave. His 12 years at the firm, his gold cufflinks, his Mercedes. None of it protects him from 4 text messages and a blank notepad. By the following Monday, Enku Dimka is terminated. The fabricated policy email is cited in the termination letter. Her glass office is empty by noon. Itwa is promoted to senior agent, the fastest promotion in the firm's 2-3-year history. Dedicated portfolio for the Sedgefield development. Kaine as her anchor client. Marcus, the agent who laughed at the texts, is not fired. But every agent in that office saw the screenshots. Marcus doesn't text under his desk anymore. He picks up a pen. 3 weeks after the closing, Chief Uzandu moves into his new home. Kaine is there. Tiwa is there. If their off-pot sits on the 6-burner range, it fits perfectly. By noon, the house smells like home. Chief Uzandu stands at the east-facing window, coffee in one hand, the morning light pouring in. Not the parking lot light he woke up to for 30 years. Real light. Golden light. Tiwa comes up beside him. How does it feel? He doesn't turn from the window, but he speaks quietly like a man who has finally arrived somewhere he didn't think he'd reach. When I left Anugu, I was 41 years old. I had been a headmaster for 15 years, and then I came here and I became invisible. A taxi driver, a number on a license, 30 years, thousands of passengers, and not one of them ever asked me what I loved. He turns to Tiwa. You asked. His eyes are wet. The morning light catches the tears. You sat down across from my daughter, a stranger in dusty boots, and you asked what I loved. You wrote it down. You checked the sun chart. You found the birds. He takes her hand. My daughter built something from nothing. She is the greatest thing I ever helped create. But what she bought me today wasn't a house. It was proof. Proof of what? That I raised her right. Tiwa's tears fall. She doesn't wipe them. In the garden the magnolia tree sways. Aaron calls. Another answers. Cindy watches from the kitchen doorway. She's still in her jeans, still in her boots, still the woman that Raymond Ashford dismissed in under 90 seconds. Still the woman that Eneru called a waste of billable hours. Still the woman whose dusty boots left red clay on the white marble tile of an office that will never look at a walk-in the same way again. But she's smiling now. The kind of smile that starts in the chest and moves up slowly because her father is standing in morning light in his own home. And with birds outside and jollof on the stove and a young woman beside him who proved what Kaine has always believed, that the only people worth trusting are the ones who treat you right when they think you have nothing to offer. There is a Yoruba proverb that says ebtimo. You know a person by where they stand when it matters. Raymond stood behind his phone and Koo stood behind her glass wall. Marcus stood behind his laughter. Tiwa stood up. She walked across that office floor with a borrowed blazer and a legal pad. And she sat down in front of a stranger and asked the only question that mattered. What does he love? That question was worth $61,250. But the answer, birds and cooking and morning light, was worth everything. And in a craftsman bungalow in Sedgefield on a Wednesday morning, an old man stands at his kitchen window with coffee in his hand and light on his face, listening to the birds sing. And he is no longer invisible. He is home. Dziękuję za wysłuchanie do końca tego filmu. Naprawdę doceniam każdą chwilę, którą spędziliście tutaj ze mną. W tej chwili jesteśmy na drodze do osiągnięcia pierwszego celu. 1000 subskrybentów. Jeśli moje historie choć trochę was poruszyły, proszę wesprzyjcie mnie, klikając przycisk subskrybuj. Każda wasza subskrypcja to dla mnie ogromna motywacja, by dalej pisać i tworzyć kolejne wartościowe historie. Do zobaczenia w następnym filmie. Nie więc, każda.